Well, it's time for us to talk quick insights, and it matters to do with animal rights. And my guest is going to be Mr. Tennyson Williams, who is Director for Africa World Animal Protection. But just before we get into the discussion, I find some very interesting facts here to share with you. Globally, 70% of meat chickens are raised in intensive factory farming systems and will have more space in the oven when they are being prepared to be eaten than they were actually able to have when they were alive. And there are more chickens in the world than any other bird. But unlike other birds which have freedom, most chickens are kept in crowded sheds. Here they are packed with tens of thousands of other chickens, and they suffer staggeringly short life. Animal protection. Now, the rights of chicken, if we respect those, where are we going to get chicken wings?
Well, you still get your chicken wings. The good thing is we are not even an animal rights organization. We are an animal welfare organization,
Okay.
and that distinction is very important.
What's the difference? And I'd like us to begin there. What's the difference between animal welfare and animal rights?
An animal rights perspective might have the tendency to suggest that you should not eat meat, for example. And that's not what we are about. We are saying even as you eat meat, eat it, but you have to recognize that the animal that you end up eating must have good life.
Okay.
And good life is what will constitute the whole welfare conversation and positioning that we have taken.
And you're here to train journalists. What's your end game?
Our end game certainly is to get the message out there. We are only 15 staff sitting in Nairobi with a mandate to deliver such a huge agenda to the rest of Africa. How do you do it? You do it through effective partnerships and taking advantage of Africa's population and penetration.
In a continent like ours, where we still have issues with human welfare, do you think we'll have time for animal welfare?
As a matter of fact, we should, because it's in our interest. The point is, even within those difficult priority settings, Africa's development, we believe, will not find its place where it needed to be if animals are not part of the solution.
And on a scale of 1 to 10, in terms of taking care and being cognizant of animal welfare issues, where does Uganda lie?
Uganda is a very important constituency. Of the 54 member states on this continent, we believe that Uganda has made strides in its own right to actually leverage what it has to put animal welfare on the agenda. Already we are talking to journalists who have interest. That is important. We are talking to a country where we have laws that exist in relation to that.
Okay.
All we need to do is to raise awareness, have the judiciary also be able to prosecute where they need to prosecute, and revise those laws to meet the current demands. So I think Uganda is a very key constituency, and certainly when it comes to even production, we recognize that Uganda, for example, is one of the leading pork-producing countries on the continent of Africa.
Okay, we are in the month of Ramadan, so we may not want to go there too far.
Well, I would imagine.
But let's come back to issues to do with legislation here. I know that you probably have looked at our legislation in terms of animal welfare. Do you like it in its existing situation?
We certainly like it. It's a first step. It can be better, and that's what we are talking about.
Where can it be improved?
It can be improved by recognizing, first of all, the gaps, because animal welfare is about recognizing that every animal is a sentient being, meaning it can feel, it has the tendency to be hurt, and therefore that has to be recognized, and we have to facilitate the animal to enjoy 5 fundamental freedoms. The freedom to exercise natural behavior, the freedom to have food when they need to have food, the freedom to be treated when they are sick, etc., etc. These are very basic fundamental freedoms, which are not rights, by the way, because there is a tendency to actually misunderstand that to mean not to eat animal meat at all.
At least you understand that the animals that we are also have the freedom to eat other animals. In conclusion, there was I think I was in the UK back then, and somebody was jailed for not watering their dog. Do you want us to go that direction?
Well, the idea is not to jail people. The idea is to make us
Do you think that
recognize.
that was high-handed?
That was not necessarily high-handed, because those jurisdictions have been around many, many years with understanding and knowledge. So what we do here, we want to educate and mobilize our communities to understand. We want to lobby and advocate policymakers to bring those regulations that can enhance the animal welfare agenda, but also to make sure that we can catalyze what we call sustainable solutions, because we believe, as I said at at the beginning of this discussion, that Africa's development will not be realized in the absence of good animal welfare practice.
And Mr. Williams, as we finish off this, I'd like to ask you your take on this. There is a country, I don't remember exactly where dogs managed by police officers seem to have more spent on them than those who are managing them. Don't you think that we have come to that country, they've come to the place where animal rights are more important than the rights of human beings?
Well, perhaps they have gone to a much extreme. Okay. We don't expect Africans to treat animals much more than they will treat human beings. Okay. But all we are saying is that it's in the interest of human beings to treat animals right.
Okay, Mr. Tennyson Williams, it's certainly been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
The next time I am in charge of animals, I'll make sure that they have their rights very well placed. And that's Mr. Tennyson Williams, Director for Africa World Animal Protection. And we've been talking animal welfare. That brings us to the end of Quick Insight. In a few, I'll come back right after this to give you the very last story of this bulletin.